Leeds United have started to pick up momentum in their season so far, having started a little bit slowly, but the ball started rolling, and now they face Southampton, a team that also came down from the Premier League and are pretty down on their luck. They've lost the last 4 matches in a row, so they could provide a unique challenge for Leeds United. I'm going to do a little bit of a preview, look at how Southampton play, the players that are available to Leeds United, and the big decisions that Daniel Farke really needs to make this weekend. First up, how exactly do Southampton play? They tend to play in a 4-3-3 system. Fairly basic. Wing-backs, centre-backs, wingers up top, 3 central midfielders. It's nothing too complicated in the slightest. And then we've got to look into the strengths and weaknesses because that's how we really learn how Leeds need to play against them. So in terms of strength, they're fairly good at through balls. Their midfield is quite strong at passing, especially when they're looking to wingers such as Samuel Edozie, especially if he's playing. He came off the bench in their last match. He could look to start this week, but whether or not that happens sort of depends on fitness and things like that. They really need a bit of a change, Southampton, so I can see a rejig lineup a little bit. And in addition to that, they are all round quite good at set pieces. Normally, I would call this a big problem for us. Not only are they good at taking free kicks, but they're good at scoring from corners, all sorts. Typically, a Leeds United side would struggle with this, but under Daniel Farke, Leeds have been a little bit more impressive when it comes to dealing with set pieces and the issues that they pose. Ideally, this one isn't going to be a problem for the Whites in the slightest. Thankfully, when we dive into Southampton's weaknesses, things start to look quite a lot better. Now, first up is something that Leeds struggled with quite a lot last season, have struggled with before, and will continue to struggle with in the future because every football team does. It's lots of individual errors. At the moment, Leeds are looking very good, high on confidence, not many errors spilling through into the play, and that is absolutely fantastic. And that is not something that Southampton can say. They've had a lot of issues, especially at left back. I've seen that Manning hasn't quite fit in quite right. Is it Ryan Manning, I think? He's made the occasional error that has led to goals and things like that, which means that we are likely to have at least a few opportunities that we don't have to make, but come from our opponents. In addition to that, they are reportedly weak against wingers and skillful players. Georginio Rutter, Crescencio Somerville, Jaden Anthony, all licking their lips right now because they had a fantastic week when they were playing in their last match, winning 3-0, and that can only continue into the future. Additionally, something else that we are quite good at, that they are not very good at dealing with, is defending from counterattacks. Now, it's not necessarily just counterattacks. I had someone complain at me last time that I said the term counterattacks, so I'm going to rework it a little bit. They are weak at defending against transitional attacks. So if they're in a high press and we're passing it about the back, they're fine dealing with that. If we're passing through the press incredibly quickly and we've got runners going on both sides and the ball through the middle with a decision to make, and defenders don't have their back to goal but are facing their own goal, sprinting back, that's where their issues come in. And that's something that we are incredibly good at. Look at our third goal last week against... Why can I not remember who we played? I believe it was Millwall. Was it Millwall? Why isn't this coming to mind? Watford. Sorry, I knew it was a London club. But a throwback to that match where Rutter played that fantastic through ball to Jaden Anthony, that was transitional. And we keep playing incredibly good transitional football. That Dan James whipped cross onto Joel Piro's foot came from a transitional moment. We're very good at that, and Southampton are very much not. And I think we could have a fantastic time here because of it. Aside from that, we have to discuss the squad news because Daniel Farke, as I'm recording this today, but the video is going out tomorrow, has discussed the squad news around his side. And the main bit, the bit that will force a decision out of him, is the fact that Patrick Bamford has returned. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a minute, purely because it sort of needs to stand on its own and be discussed fully. For now, I'm just going to mention Patrick Bamford is returning, arguably not ready for the first 11 yet, but he could definitely make the squad. Aside from that, Junior Firpo and Jed Spence are still out at fullback. Bit of a problem. One right back and one left back being missing is never good, but we've still got the cover there. We've got Byram, who is a top tier left back, it turns out. And at right back, we can choose between Shackleton and Ayling. We're flexible enough there at the moment, I think, to deal with these players still being out for a bit. Willy Gnonto is still missing. We knew that that was a quite serious injury. This could still be a few more weeks. I personally think it's looking like it'll be after the international break, but we can't be 100% sure. Additionally, there was a name that I didn't expect to pop up in the press conference that did. And that was the name Helder Costa. Asked, I think, by Phil Hay what was happening with Helder Costa, Daniel Farke simply said, Costa doesn't want to be here. We're not too bothered about him being here. We'll work something out. I don't know whether that means contract being completely terminated, whether that means going somewhere in January, whether it means him just sitting out his contract. It's annoying that he's still here purely because he's eating into that wage bill, but I can understand it from the player's point of view. It's not one to complain about too much. I forgot to click the Helder Costa button there, so that to a viewer clicking through would have been about Willy Gnonto. That would have been bad. Anyway, Daniel Farke's opinion on all of these things was explained in the press conference, and he said about the Southampton thing he can't think of a worse time to play them, explaining that after a team has lost 4 games on the bounce, coaches and analysts will tend to go through matches with a laser focus and think what went wrong here, here, and here, and what does that ultimately mean for the way that we're going to play against this club. But that's especially true against Leeds United because we're one of the form teams in the division at the moment, so they really need to know how to deal with this. In addition to that, he mentioned the fact that there isn't time to be overconfident. The Championship is a high-octane league, and if you're overconfident, you can lose 1 or 2 matches, and that puts you off the pace. When we've got momentum like we do, it's about staying switched on and really making the difference in important matches such as this one, which could go either way. I know the form says it will be Leeds through and through, but it's all about making sure. Something else that he said, and this is where we get to the Bamford thing, is he called him a quality player and said that he didn't get his England cap through a lottery. And this is something that I completely agree with. Patrick Bamford is a high-end striker when he's fit and when he's having a good day, is the best way of putting that. I think the best way of looking at it is his season in the Premier League stayed fit throughout. He scored something like 17 goals. 3rd top scorer in the Premier League is absolutely insane for a player that a lot of Leeds fans seem to have written off. And I don't hugely understand that, but those fans do, so fair enough to him. If you want to write off Patrick Bamford whilst he's still a Leeds player, go for it. It feels daft, though. When it comes to the decision that Daniel Farke has to make, though, and that is something absolutely huge, he has to decide whether Bamford comes into this side, whether he subs on a little bit just to see where his form's at. I think at the moment the better way forward is for Patrick Bamford to not start matches for a while. Rutter is on incredible form. We all saw him against Watford. He just took the piss throughout. Is just always in the right place. He keeps on scoring. He's an expert at putting away those difficult chances and isn't someone that we can drop at the moment. And Bamford isn't fit yet. Whilst there is a big decision to be made soon, it's not yet. I can see Patrick Bamford coming off the bench against Southampton if we're feeling okay, if we need a little bit more attacking oomph and he's looked decent in training. We've got to remember this is the man that scored a goal so good he got a hug from Marcelo Bielsa. There is definitely something still in Patrick Bamford, and he can do a real job in the Championship. I want to see him play. Whether or not that's weekend depends on his fitness. We'll see. I really hope he can make a difference. Ultimately, what is the prediction for Leeds United versus Southampton? I think this is screaming Leeds United win. Their weaknesses are perfectly matched to our strengths. Rutter is absolutely feeling himself at the moment, not only in terms of his personal play and his ability to just knock the ball past people, but his passing as well is stunning. The same is applying for Ethan Ampadu, who is one of the best midfielders in the Championship. The defence is looking absolutely solid. Meslier had to deal with 1 shot last week, and he still dealt with it, but it's feeling like a Leeds win. And this is also feeling like one of those times where you say that Leeds are almost certainly going to take it, and that curses us, but I'm genuinely in a bit of a positive position. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you enjoyed it, it is hugely appreciated, and comment as well. If you've got time, give one of our other videos a watch. We're really close to monetization, and I appreciate it. If you enjoy it here, subscribe, and I will see you later.